Hey, welcome back to Nick Vic Locks. Tonight we are continuing the deep dive video series. Tonight covering Mul-T-Lock. Mul-T-Lock is probably one of the most widely known producers of high security locks in the world. It's a company originally founded in 1973 in Israel, and they are currently a subsidiary of Asa Abloy. They were acquired in 2000. The original name of the company was Rav Barak. I'm butchering these names. It's RAV-BARIACH. And the name was changed to Mul-T-Lock in 1985. The original company does still exist, and they manufacture high security doors and windows. But Mul-T-Lock, one of the things they are known for is the telescopic pins that they have in their locks, or the pin-in pins. HIP, as you will often hear it called. They have several different models available for their locks. You have the Mul-T-Lock Classic and the 400. You have the Mul-T-Lock 600, which is an interactive and PIP. The Interrogator, which is a 7-pin lock. The Click, which is electromechanical, pin-in-pin, as well as sliders. You have the Junior, which just has the pin-in-pins, the Mul-T-Lock 800, which has an interactive element, the pin-in-pins, as well as slider as a secondary mechanism. And then you have variations of them, like you can have the Classic Plus, the Interactive Plus, things like that. And then there's also the Mul-T-Lock 7x7, which just a standard dimple lock, kind of in line with the Yardeni dimple locks. There's just 7 pins. They have 4 pin sizes for the outer pins on their key pins, A, B, C, and D, going from small to large, as well as mushroom pins that can be used as C and D. The inner pins, they have 5 sizes with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, also running from small to large. Inside of the lock, you can find 4 driver pins. You can have standard pins, spools, mushroom pins, and serrated pins, which I have some down here. We'll just zoom down a little bit. And let's zoom in here so we can see what we're talking about a little bit. So we have our standard pins, spools, and serrated pins. I don't have a mushroom driver out here, but we do have a mushroom key pin. Now, whenever you gut these or take them apart, you'll notice these are really big holes, chambers drilled into the core plug. Springs are also pretty massive as well. But the telescopic pin for the drivers, which is kind of the main thing they're known for. Get this one here. Ooh, didn't mean to drop it. Is this. So it doesn't fall out. It's kind of held in place inside of there, pushed in. And then there's a spring in there as well that allows that inner pin to spring and push back against the key pin, just as the outer does with the main spring above it. Now, what's the point of having an inner and an outer on your driver pin if your key pins just look like normal? Well, these also have an inner and an outer pin. See it there. Difference between the key pins and the driver pins for the outer or the inners is on the key pins, they're not held in place. They just sit down in there. And if we take a look at it here, we can see that raised edge there, or that lip that will, I don't know how we'll show it here. There you go. You can see the edge down in there that it'll catch on to keep it from falling all the way through when properly installed. So if we take a look at the key, we can see that there's 2 cuts for each spot. We have the wide circumference cut or diameter cut here for the outer pin, and then you can see the smaller one inside for the inner pin, because they can both be raised to different heights or need to be set to different heights and shear lines in order to get the lock open. So when we pick the lock, you kind of have two stages in it. Most common, you're going to have people suggest to pick the outers first, and it's the easiest thing to do. So you'll pick the outers, and then depending on the orientation of the lock, your inner pin will still be exposed and jutting out. And you'll be able to see which inner pins need to be set after that. So get those in there. Maybe we can get this to kind of show it a little bit here. There we go. So I push on that inner pin, it springs back because of the inner pin on that driver. Whereas if I move that away, we hit it, it's just going to stay in. So now this is the classic. It's a 5-pin in its current configuration that I have it with the 2 spools here and the rest standards. It is a blue belt lock. If I added 2 more spools to it, it becomes purple. Or if we made them all spools, it's purple. And then if we swap them all out to 5 serrated drivers, it becomes brown. It's kind of one of the benefits to the Mul-T-Lock in the LPU belt system is that it can be modular and cover multiple belts with a single lock, as long as you have the drivers to swap it out. And the theory to pick it's going to be the same regardless of how you have it pinned up. So the way that I like to think about it is we're going to set the outers and then worry about the inner pins. And when we set the inner pins, one of the things we have to think about and consider is the size of our flag. Drop that out. There we go. So with our pin here, when we go to set that inner pin, we want a flag that's going to be thin enough, narrow enough to just act on that inner pin. If we have something too wide, trying to set the inner pin is going to cause us to move that outer pin as well, which could lead to an overset and prevent us from opening the lock. So like I have this flag and it's too big. I'm only going to be able to push that inner pin down to the top of the outer and no deeper unless we somehow get an angle to kind of manipulate it. You could also use something like a diamond to kind of get in there. You have the tip, it'll allow you to set the pin deeper, which may be beneficial on the interactives, which we'll talk about in a moment. But it's easiest to just have a flag that you can just go in and hit those with. So I like the multi-pick, what is this, 5 for picking Mul-T-Lock. So that is our classic 5-pin. You can get them in 4 pins or 5 pins. And we have the interactive. So with the interactive, the only real difference here between them, excuse me, as you can see, we have these 2 odd looking cuts here. And what that is the interactive element, the inner pin needs to be set deeper or higher, moved more than any of the others, more so than a key would allow it to be moved normally. So if we think about the key like this going into the lock, I can't have anything that sticks out higher than the edges of the key. Otherwise, it won't go into the lock. So what they've done to allow that to be set to a greater depth, you can see this little rubber ring here holds this in place, and that can be pushed, which then allows, it's kind of hard to see, but allows that protrusion to come out past the edges of the bounds of the key to be set deeper for that interactive element. It's nice because it's not a magnet involved with it, like you'll find in some interactive locks. So we don't need any special tools or magnets or anything. We can just use our normal flag, and we just have to be mindful that pin 2 on this interactive, the inner needs to be set to a greater depth than would normally be set on any other lock. When we take this apart, I'll kind of show that to you. But here in spot 2, up there, I remember. Yeah, you can't see it. But in chamber 2 on the core plug, on the underside, there is a raised bit to interact with that, to push it so that that nub will be raised up. Yeah. So we'll, like I said, the picking theory, whether it's an interactive or the classic, is going to be the same. The only difference being that interactive element. And then if you move on to the other multi-locks that have other locking mechanisms, such as the sliders, picking the standard pins in it, it's going to be the same as the classic or the interactive, just with the addition of the secondary mechanism that the sliders or anything else is providing to the lock. But we're not talking about sliders today. We're talking about just pick and multi-lock. So we'll get the classic put back together, but we'll pick open this interactive, and then we'll gut that and show you the other components of it that make this one different from the classic. All right, see you guys in a second. Okay, now that we have the interactive here in the lock, see if we can get this thing open. Now, with the interactive element, I am going to be using the flag in this orientation, just to kind of get under it and lift that inner pin a little bit easier. That. Two. Three. Something's holding us up. Maybe it's pin 1. One, 3, 4. It's oversetting. There we go. There we go. That's the false set that we're looking for. Now we just gotta find what pin is holding this up. Not one. All right, 2, we set a little bit more. That's 3. No. 4. There we go. So, all right, now that we have picked the interactive, we'll go ahead and get this thing apart so we can show how that interactive element works within it. This one we will gut actually through the Bible. So it makes it a little bit easier. And let's see here, this way. Come on. There we go. Yeah. Who said I knew what I was doing? Not me. Let's see. We'll find that thing somewhere. That would be great. Nope. I got more if I can't find it. Okay. All right. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the mushroom. All right. Get this thing off. So, all right. Look at these pins here, but we'll talk about this thing first. So, like I was saying with the key, you have this that'll push onto that key to push it up to allow it to interact with the interactive pin that needs to be raised even higher. Pin 2. Too much hair. Yep. You can see it down in there through the chamber, and then you can see that it's raised there. You got your anti-drill pins. And then you can see here that we have our spools. 1, 2, 4, 5. And some of these are upside down. There we go. There we go. But other than the interactive element, it is fundamentally the same, whether it's a classic or the interactive or any of the other ones. The secondary locking mechanism is only going to slightly change how you're going to pick the lock, but otherwise it's fundamentally the same, whether you're picking any of the multi-locks. So, yeah. When it comes to the drivers, other than the pin-in-pin component, whether it's spools or serrated pins or the mushrooms, the theory is the same as any other security pin that we've discussed before, with picking the spools, counter rotation, the serrated pins for counting the clicks and testing to see if it feels set. We've not really discussed mushroom pins, but it's kind of the same as picking a spool. General idea. If you've ever picked the Abus 85, it has mushroom pins in it. And if you didn't know, you would think it had spools in it. So it's kind of my thoughts on the whole thing. But this was the deep dive into the Mul-T-Lock based off of what I have right now. So, yeah. We'll zoom out here. Hope this is enjoyable, educational, helpful in some way. And we'll see y'all next time. And before I forget, just want to make sure that you guys know you matter, you're important, and I'm glad you're here. Y'all have a good night.